This is part 3 of my best anime entertainment. This video will list all what I call category A anime movies that I'm aware of. I've watched all these movies and have written reviews on them, which I have posted on IMDb. Most experienced anime viewers will have almost certainly seen most of these movies, but I'm hoping there may be something in this list which will prove useful. Quick explanation of my category system and what is a category A movie. When I determine if something is category A, I ask myself two basic questions. Did I enjoy this the first time I watched it? And if I watched it again, will I still enjoy it? If the answer is yes for both, then it's category A. If I initially enjoyed it and later found it was difficult to rewatch, then it's category B. For those interested in a more detailed description of what makes a good story as far as I'm concerned, please view my category A or category B TV show videos, which happen to be part 1 or part 2. Those videos provide a very detailed breakdown. I'll only provide a very brief overview here. All stories need a number of basic elements, starting with the core story arc. A story arc, which is the basic story which everything else is hung from, needs to be both simple, consistent, and plausible in order to be good. The second basic element is characters, each with their own specific character arc. A character arc needs to show a challenge, struggle, loss, and development. If this is lacking, a character needs to be very unique and interesting, which is rather difficult to achieve. The start and end points of the character arc can vary based on the story arc. Now we look at what I call a situation arc, or the world the story exists within. This needs to be plausible and consistent. If fantasy, the implausibility elements must be clearly articulated and understood, even if this occurs slowly. The simplest situation arc is the world we all live in today, which saves a lot of effort but can be boring and can be a sign of lazy writing. Mini story arcs or subplots or side quests are designed to progress the story and assist in the character arc. While sometimes a mini-story arc may have nothing to do with the main story arc or does nothing to develop the character arcs, this is rare in a good story. Having a large number of mini-story arcs is useful in a soap opera, but not in a good movie or TV show. If a mini-story arc does not achieve the primary task of progressing the story arc or a character arc, it really should not exist. And in fact only exists because it's a filler. In conclusion, what we're looking for in what I call category A or category B story, movie or TV series is a simple and plausible story arc which has enough mystery in it to make the audience want to know how this will end. Characters which are interesting, likeable or relatable, and also which contain a character arc or some development or change. Interesting situations, either mini story arc, background or character interplay. The reason why these factors are critical is that all of them make us want to keep on watching. We want to know what happens to our characters, and we want that experience to be as entertaining and as riveting as possible. Heavy Metal, a movie that came out in 1981, and which actually has nothing to do with the Japanese, but I still class as anime, is based on a magazine which was printed in New York around 1974, and in turn was based on the works of a pair of French writers. It was a collection of unrelated stories which each had an astounding level of depth. In this movie, a number of these stories are loosely linked together and the result is brilliant. While each story has a significant meaning, this is a movie which should wash over the view in a cascade of experiences. Music is great as well. You can see some of the story arcs in the movie Fifth Element. Ghost in the Shell, which came out in 1995. What can I say about this movie that's not been said before? The manga was certainly not brilliant, although the primary story arc was anything but mundane and interesting in its own right. However, this movie version is a work of art. Everyone needs to watch this at least once. Final Fantasy: The Spirit Within, which came out in 2001. Look, this movie does have its flaws, especially the end, but it's an absolute joy to watch. The CGI graphics is breathtaking, especially since that this came out in 2001, and the story, while basic, is enjoyable enough. Its only downside is the character arcs, but the sheer experience of the movie overcomes all of that easily. I really do enjoy watching this, especially with a fine port or a beer. Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence, which came out in 2004. I never in my life imagined that a movie would ever come up to the same standards of the original Ghost in the Shell, but this is certainly one. While not regarded as highly as the original movie, this is in many ways just as brilliant. It carries on from the end of the first movie, with the major gone and instead focusing on Bato and Togusha. I originally found this a letdown as I wanted to see Major Kusanagi, but this movie is as enjoyable and thought-provoking as the original movie. Another classic, which in this case is greatly underrated. Another movie that you absolutely have to watch. Graphics is quite good too, or the animation. Ghost in the Shell, A Solid State Society, which came out in 2006. Okay, this movie is a follow-on from the standalone Complex TV series, and is certainly not as deep and impactful as the two movies that I've already covered. But for any fan of Ghost in the Shell, it's a highly enjoyable watch. The story is not as deep, but the character arcs and the mini-arcs are very entertaining indeed. The Sky Crawlers, which came out in 2008. This was a real surprise to me, and I only watched it because I had nothing else to watch. Once I started, I was captivated to the end of the movie. This movie is designed to make the viewer wonder what the hell is happening, and this mystery pulls the viewer through the first viewing. However, the character arcs and animation is breathtaking, and easily allows you to view this many more times. It's also rare for someone to work out the story in the first viewing. So there is still mystery even after the first viewing, and you'll keep on finding more and more clues in every single viewing. I still don't fully understand what this movie is all about, but God, what a pleasant experience viewing it is. King of Thorns, which came out in 2009. This movie also uses mystery to pull you through the story, but it's more of a standard action-adventure story. It's possible I may place this into category B, as I suspect a third viewing may not be viable. But until I confirm this, it remains firmly in the category A. I enjoyed it in my first viewing, and I certainly enjoyed it my second. If you've not seen this before, it's certainly worth a watch, especially if you are into deep hidden meaning movies and just wants a good adventure mystery. The twist at the end is in many ways magnificent, although in some ways not particularly well executed. Well worth a watch. Go and find it. Haruhi, or The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, came out in 2010. This movie was my introduction to the Haruhi Suzumiya stories, and it was great. It also uses mystery to pull you through the story, and on a second watching it still has that magic. I actually feel this is superior to the TV series. After watching this, I watched the TV series and found that as enjoyable as well, but the movie is really magnificent. Even if you've not watched any of the Haruhi Suzumiya TV series episodes, find this movie. You will not regret it. Steins, the movie, Lord Regent of Déjà, which came out in 2013. Steins, the TV series, is a classic, designed for people who are not afraid of thinking and working out a puzzle. Its real strength is the character arcs. You really care for the characters, and the character development is brilliant. This movie is mainly about those character arcs. While the story arc is acceptable, it's in nowhere way as deep as the TV series, and many people as a result downgrade it for that reason. But in terms of the character arc development, this will absolutely get you very emotional, and I suspect that when you watch it, you better bring out your tissues. Make sure you watch the TV series before you watch this movie, because you need to know some of that background information to really get the most out of the movie. Kuroshitsuji, which was a movie that came out in 2014, while not an anime, is a Black Butler real-life movie. I love the movie. It's a real joy to watch, both the first time and other times that I've watched it. The ending is a little bit drawn out and there's a little bit too much dialogue, but nonetheless it's a great watch. The movie changes a lot of things from the original story, but these changes do work. The maid is excellent, especially in the fight scene. This is absolutely well worth a watch, and you can actually watch it on YouTube for nothing in HD. Ghost in the Shell, new movie, came out in 2015. A lot of people did not like the animation in the movie, and I must admit it was not really that good, but I quickly got over that and got right into the story. This is similar to standalone Complex, so it was not a classic art house style of movie similar to the original Ghost in the Shell movie and Innocence. but it is a very good action and adventure story which attempts to fill in some of the backstory to the movie rather than the TV series. While it looked like the Solid State Society in tone, or the standalone complex in tone, the story was really designed to fill in backstory information to the original movie universe rather than the previous TV series. Psycho Pass, the movie, came out in 2015 as well. I watched the Psycho Pass TV series because I wanted a Ghost in the Shell hit, and the TV series did deliver that. I did not have much expectation the movie would be as good, but I was wrong. This movie is surprisingly good. Great story, hidden meaning, and a great twist at the end. Watch the TV series before you watch this movie. Unlike the TV series, which I think would be very difficult to watch a second time, this movie you can definitely watch a second time, so it's probably superior in many ways. Project Itoh, The Empire of Corpse, came out in 2015 as well. 2015 seemed to be a pretty good year. This is the best of the Project Itoh movies, and it's a good, solid mystery adventure story. The ending is a bit jarring, but satisfying. You are pulled through this movie, not by the mystery, but by the situation arc, or the world you find yourself in. It's rich and interesting and full of wonderful details. A great adventure that you will enjoy almost until the end. This comes to an end of my Category A movie video. Quick note about the IMDb rating. I provided that for each anime cover, but I am rather surprised how the ratings are lower than I think they would otherwise be. You really do need to be careful about ratings, and while you can certainly use IMDb to identify a very poor quality movie, that is anything that's under 5, it's very difficult to identify a classic from just an average good one using the IMDb rating system or any rating system. Saying that, IMDb is certainly far superior to Rotten Tomato, which I particularly find a very poor rating system, especially the reviewers' rating, although the audience score tends to be a little bit closer to IMDb. Denken Sie daran, immer für Hill heimatland zu kämpfen.